guys, welcome back to the Bucket Think Tank. So, Toy Story 4 came out, and I saw it, and honestly, it was a really fun time with movies, and I couldn't quite wrap my head around exactly what I wanted to say about this review. So I talked to some friends who saw it, and what I liked about it was that this really did feel like we should make another one. This legitimately felt like it. Like most sequels often feel like cash grabs by default. And Disney, I know this is more Pixar than Disney, but still bear with me. Disney is no stranger to wanting to put out a sequel for the sake of it'll make some money. Maybe not a lot of money, but we'll more than likely make more than we put into it. There was a sense of finality to Toy Story 4 that I love, and that to make a Toy Story 5, I feel would be a huge betrayal of everything else. But coming on to the movie itself, with again, no spoilers, I wasn't quite sure how to feel. As I said before, everything is pretty much as Toy Story as you can get. The only real difference is we have some flashbacks here. There's a lot more history to the characters, primarily because, well, Woody meets Bo Peep again. And I personally thought that, being a porcelain lamp, what would have happened was she broke. I thought that would have happened, especially if you go by Toy Story 3, when Woody's trying to keep everybody up and positive and happy, and Jesse mentions Bo Peep, and Woody's face just breaks. And it was nice to see that didn't happen, that, she didn't break. And to see her dynamic with Woody, I felt was something that we sort of was only hinted at from 1 and 2. That, yeah, they're a couple, but we didn't quite get exactly what kind of couple. And this was, I think, a really great way to do that. Like every Toy Story movie, this is very much Woody's story, where the first one was, Woody having to adjust to not being Andy's all-around super favorite, not being the favorite toy, the big man on campus. And Toy Story 2 was dealing with, effectively, his mortality, as well as the fact, at some point his time with Andy will end. And Toy Story 3, saying goodbye to Andy. Toy Story 4 is sort of realizing, okay, what does Woody do now? And that's sort of where Forky comes in. Forky doesn't play off of any other character for the most part, other than Woody. He doesn't have any real interactions with him, but Woody is very much trying to guide Forky through ultimately his identity crisis, because Forky is very much aware that he is not supposed to be a toy, but he is a toy, so he has to deal with it now, and he's a very special toy, as Woody tells us before, because Bonnie creates Forky in pretty much in a pretty sad and lonely moment, and Woody emphasizes that Forky is the toy for Bonnie. All right, it doesn't matter what that means about me, what it says about you guys. No, Forky is the one Bonnie needs right now, the one Bonnie trusts right now, and it's interesting that Woody's not weirded out by this. Everyone else seems to be slightly weirded out, but Woody, he seems to understand that, yeah, toys can be made. Like, kids make toys and they can come to life. And Forky does sort of break a lot of rules to this universe, I think, because I didn't think that, by making a toy it became alive, but I think it was also because Bonnie wrote her name on him. That always felt to be like a big deal, too. And of course, as the default, well, we get separated from the kid in this story here, and that sort of is how we meet everyone, how we meet Bonnie, how we meet Gabby Gabby. And Gabby Gabby is an interesting character. She really is. She's possibly the strongest antagonist Pixar's created in a while, especially for Toy Story. I think the most interesting antagonist we had for Toy Story was Lotso. And Woody definitely was able to tear him down, but Gabby Gabby is a totally different kind of villain, and I love how different she is as a villain. But at the same time, she adds a bit of horror to this. Like the scenes in the pawn shop, the first scene is legitimately kind of like a horror film. It really does feel like it. If there were drawbacks to this movie, I would say that if you liked how every one of the cast interacts with each other, how Buzz interacts with Jesse, Bullseye, the Potato Heads, the aliens, Rex, Ham. Yeah, this isn't for you. They're not really in it. They are, but they're not. They're just there long enough for you to remember that, hey, Potato Head's there. And that did hurt the movie. Jesse gets the third most amount of screen time out of the original cast, not counting Bo Peep, because she is sort of the MVP of the movie. I think she has a bit more of an emotional weight. She's a bit like Jessie in Toy Story 2, which I think may have become like the weakest Toy Story film now. But uh, irrelevant. Um, she really does sort of come into her own here. She gets a couple scenes that sort of explains what happens to her at the end. Buzz does not come off as smart in this one. He really doesn't. I think people think Buzz at his dumbest is just sort of him thinking that he's, an actual spaceman. And that pays off in Toy Story 2 when he, has to break it to the other Buzz that, you're not real, and he has to deal with what he did, which I found to be hilarious. But here he doesn't quite seem to grasp the concept of a conscience, and it sort of throws it off a bit, which I don't think that should have been the direction for Buzz's character. And I think I'll go more into that later in a different video when everyone's had a chance to see this, maybe when it comes out on home release. And I'll probably do like my favorite Pixar movie video, which I haven't had time to really work on yet. Music-wise, it's Randy Newman being Randy Newman, so if you didn't like Randy Newman in Toy Story 1, you won't like him in 4. But if you didn't like Randy Newman, I don't know why you're watching Toy Story. New characters get plenty of time to shine here. I did like them. Well, I liked and hated some of them. I think we all know who they are. But ultimately, this felt like a really solid movie. Felt like a proper end to this. Do not make a Toy Story 5 Disney. Do not make a Toy Story 5 Pixar. Just don't. Don't do it. Don't be those guys. They're probably going to be those guys. Or bare minimum, we're going to get like a Christmas special. Somewhere down the road. ABC Christmas special. We're going to see it. Well, with that in mind, we're bringing this video to close here. If you're new to the Bucket Think Tank, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. If you saw this movie, love to hear your thoughts on it. Leave it down in the comment section. I will catch you all later. This is the Bucket Think Tank signing off. Thanks for watching, and as always, may your fandom serve you well.